But when I was 18 years old and I went into it, I was just like, oh, इतना तो नहीं सोचा था मैंने. Initially, it was just like, हाय अच्छा चलो आ गए हैं, break कब होगी, चाय पीने कब जाएंगे, theater कब करेंगे, boys कब देखने को मिलेंगे, hot boys from DU. I still get nightmares. No other organization has left such a deep impact on my psyche.
Yes, sir, it's getting done. It's getting done.
And Ankush was like, क्या बोल रही है? We had 8 auditions, and nobody talks about that. I think the first time she saw my closet, I think fainted. She was like, बस यही है, ये क्या है?
Hi, Shibani. Welcome to Chuma Conversations.
Hi, Sacha. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
I'm so happy to have you on. Congrats on the success of your film. Thank you for coming. How has life changed a lot after the film?
In terms of, I guess, a little bit of credibility and recognition, in actor or just being credible enough as an actor also, maybe a little bit, but not drastically. I feel like such it's also very early in the journey, and I don't also have a very elaborate body of work. So I'm guessing over time with more work, maybe the recall value will be more actor, content creator, as opposed to just content creator who's done one acting project. So
you studied in DU and you did your BA honors in philosophy.
Yeah.
Why philosophy?
Yeah, I think wanted to study in DU, and I was a little fixated that I want to go to university and a good college. And so, sadly for me, I was a science student, very reluctantly took science, completely like I sucked at it. And because of which my overall score in my final exams in the 12th board exam was a little low. And the option was between IP University, BBM, like there was this mass communication course that I had made it to. And the other option was to go to DU, choose philosophy, maybe spend 3 years doing something that made no sense to me or professionally made no sense. But it will just give you like this university experience that I really wanted to immerse myself in. So yeah, much to my mother's disapproval and much to a lot of like judgment from extended family, I was like, I will do this because that's the only cutoff where I could make it, So yeah. But I don't regret it. I mean, I think it's a beautiful subject. I only started taking it seriously 2 years after I entered the course. By the time I hit my third, I was 2 years too late to appreciate what a beautiful, subject and the course design was. And because a lot of students weren't attuned to taking the syllabus very seriously, we were all, even the teachers would encourage, going through a few questions and answers, to understand the philosophers and their teachings, jo exam mein aayega. But because I liked it so much, I seem to have nosedived into it a little deeper. And I was like, this is insane. And I still remember I regretted not having given it enough time during the first 2 years. And I made myself a promise, after the third year exams are over, I will come back to it again. And it's never happened. But yeah, I mean, I did eventually fall in love with it.
It must have felt so refreshing, right? From going like studying science where you're not interested at all to now loving the fact that you go to class and you actually get to study something you like.
Yeah, I think initially it wasn't so much fun. I think a lot of it was also the general attitude of the students in the class, including me. I didn't think they could offer any value because, if you look at philosophy as a subject, there is nothing that you can take and utilize in your everyday life. It's a lot about ethics and thought process and, just how to maybe function and include yourself in the world. And while at the same time make the distinction between what needs to be taken seriously and what can't be, and a lot more, liberty towards how to live your life. Whatever, there are too many like elements to it. But when I was 18 years old and I went into it, I was just like, oh, itna to nahi socha tha maine. It's only by the time I grew with the subject, I realized that, yeah, these guys do make sense. And, people spend their whole lives doing PhDs and, studying these philosophers and quoting them for life, that we are being taught so
Yeah.
callously here. Yeah, I mean, it became fun later. Initially, it was just like, hi, अच्छा चलो आ गए हैं, break कब होगी, चाय पीने कब जाएंगे, theater कब करेंगे, boys कब देखने को मिलेंगे, hot boys from DU.
Oh,
So
you were in an all-girls college, right?
yeah. So a single-pointed agenda was find man, date man, fixate over man. Yeah.
I came to know when I was researching this podcast, for example,
Right.
that you've been involved in films and TV since you were 19.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and we'll get to that in a bit. But I was also
Right.
like so excited to see that you had actually a long career as a writer, and you worked with
Yeah.
the top media houses, NDTV, India Today,
Yeah.
HT, all of these people. And
Yeah.
in fact, the thing that got me most excited was you worked on the output team at NDTV,
Yeah.
and
Oh God.
I
How?
also
Okay,
worked.
that's. Oh.
I also worked on the output team of another news channel, and it
Right.
is so rare for me to come
Yeah.
across people who have had like a similar experience in the content field. How did
Yeah.
you manage the stress of a 24/7 news job?
I just want to check with you, how's your PTSD doing, and are you still like
Oh my
getting
God.
nightmares of somebody telling you
Totally. ये
VO
करो.
VT deliver karo? Yeah, VT dela that VT the VT VO VT.
Oh my goodness.
I can't tell you enough, Satsha, that till 2 years ago, and I quit my NDTV job. Like I think in the year 2011 was my last, or 12 was my last stint there. And oh yeah, I think 2011, closer to that. I still get nightmares. No other organization has left such a deep impact on my psyche like the news bulletin building process has, and the kind of pressure um, sometimes one goes through. And I think I was also not very good at my job, so that didn't work in my favor. With the pressure,
Really?
also the judgment for being like a
Uh,
lousy, like a slightly mediocre output editor, journalist in the
goodness.
making. I think it was a double-edged sword.
It
So
definitely prepares you to work in any organization
I
under any
completely
condition.
agree. I completely agree. I feel like I have to give credit where it's due. I think I have
Yeah.
developed a lot of thick skin, and my threshold for pressure, I feel like over time has I can only look back and be like, that's the reason why I'm so good with this, because you work under so much pressure.
Yeah.
Even at the lowest level, I feel like when you're a flunky there, I mean, output editors
Yeah.
are usually like glorified flunkies. I'm sorry, but I felt like, we were like the glorified minions with a designation
Yeah.
and the lowest pay scale, that was offered. And there's a lot of pressure of all the big wigs and all the important processes that happen sometimes that falls on this one person sitting either in the edit room or in the
Like,
PCR.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
it's getting done. It's
Yeah.
getting done.
Yeah, I'm going live. Okay, वहाँ पे anchor. I remember once I was like OTing for a very big anchor. And while the news editors upstairs, including, the Roys, everybody's like calling it's breaking news, tell her to shift to this. And I'm telling her, it's XYZ, ye thoda aise. And she's like, like literally like in the middle of the fucking bulletin while the camera's not on, and she's like, and I'm like, sorry, the whole PCR saw. I can't get over it. I have so many stories.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I'm now remembering all those memories. Sometimes the anchor goes rogue and says something, and then they start yelling at you. Why is the anchor saying this?
Yeah. Oh God. And the best is, if there's a reporter on field, वो अपना OB कर रहा है, वो live है. Okay. Why is somebody upstairs is calling you and telling you, why is so and so? Tell them to not say this. And I'm like, but how? She's live. Yeah.
Because it's I mean it I feel like it takes years of your life being in that environment.
Completely.
Yeah.
I think realized it early on that, I don't think I can grow in this at all. Like, I spent
Yeah.
3 years working at NDTV,
Mm-hmm.
3.5 years, and I was very sure that this is not my scene, bro. Like, I cannot
Yeah.
look at this and be like, this is going to be my whole life, like, no.
And
Yeah,
also, like
yeah,
when you don't have like many people had a goal ki I want to become an anchor one day, I want to become
yeah,
like executive editor. Looking at the work,
yeah,
even I was like, I don't see fulfillment in
yeah.
any of these things.
Exactly.
So even I was
Completely
like,
agree with you. Bye
bye.
bye.
That's good. So when you were at IDEVA, how did that shift go from you being a writer to an actor?
Yeah, so Sacha, I've been acting and doing theater for a while. I mean, even so,
Mm-hmm.
before IDEA, I was with Scoop Poop, and that's where my
Mm.
actual video journey started. A lot of
Okay.
my viral videos started with Scoop Poop, and I was also editing I was one of the editors for this magazine that they ran called Vagabond.
Mm.
Um, Before that, when I was in HT and India Today and all these places, especially in HT, I spent about 3 4 years in HT. And thankfully, because we had a schedule within which working hours were designed,
Mm.
because of which I knew that okay, after 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. I could have a life beyond work, which really
Mm.
helped, which was also something that I hadn't experienced in the first 3 4 years of my
Right.
career working as a TV anchor or whatever, output editor and all of that. So this was a fresh change, which is when I went back to theater. I had been doing theater all through school, all through college,
Mm-hmm.
since pretty much the age of 6 or 7. I mean, it started with playing a tree or a cow or something or a bear, but
Uh-huh.
it eventually graduated to bigger things in school. And then in
Mm-hmm.
college, I was a lot more active and, involved. Um, so yeah, I feel like I was doing theater. And then the Scoopoo video thing also happened because somebody I used to work in NDTV was working there in their video team, who
Okay.
recommended my name, who knew I was acting in
Mm-hmm.
the capacity of a theater artist or whatever in Delhi. They needed someone to act in their first ever video that they were producing. That video went
Oh, wow.
quite viral. And
Uh-huh.
then I
What
also
video
joined
was
them.
it?
This was shit vegetarians are tired of hearing,
Oh,
coming
okay.
from a non
Okay.
vegetarian. Yeah.
Uh,
So that happened. And then I think when ID was started, I was a little bummed that, I may have to let go of the video journey and the hype that
right.
I had earned through Scoop Whoop.
Mm-hmm.
But then IDEVA started their videos as well. And eventually, I think within 8 months of being at IDEVA, I got hired I was planning to go back to either Scoop Whoop to do videos full time,
Mm-hmm.
or just embark on some journey where I could either not actually, I wasn't sure whether I could take acting full time or freelance as an actor full time. So
Right.
I was trying to crack a contract with Scoop Whoop so that I could
Mm-hmm.
just be their in house performer,
Mm.
anchor, actor, whatever. That's when IDEVA video started. And then over time, once I became a consultant with IDEVA as just
Mm-hmm.
video talent, is when I could also dedicate my time to auditioning a lot more,
Right.
eventually started creating. So it was a very seamless segue that happened. The transition was not very chaotic.
I mean, apart from the
Yeah,
fact that you're very talented, but also that was that wave of media-led houses, sorry, content that was done by media houses like
right.
BuzzFeed, Scoop Whoop, IDEVA, all of
Yeah,
them, and obviously, like all of us loved it and we couldn't get enough of it. And it gave us
right,
this whole new genre of content where you had your
right.
sketch comedy, the types of things like that kind of
Yeah,
content, and
yeah,
also a whole range of content creators as well.
right.
When did you start creating your own content for your own page?
So I think primarily, I think that's something that I still can like. I feel very stupid about when I think about it, because I was so fixated on either just working for other people as an actor
Mm-hmm.
or just positioning, or I think I was so like keen on just establishing myself as an actor
Mm-hmm.
that, and I honestly don't have a lot of initiative when it comes to content creation. I feel like I have a whole new respect for people who create content for a living and do it
Mm-hmm.
regularly with impunity and are relevant and bring so much freshness and like fresh ideas to the table, because it takes a lot of initiative, it takes a lot of clarity and a lot of effort to do it and make like empires
Yeah.
out of it. Like, it's not easy
Mm-hmm.
as easy as it looks. So I feel like I jumped onto that wagon, I think, around the pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
because I was also very shy. I wasn't very confident whether me making content is going to work. So sometimes, when I do videos for Men's XP or ID, I take
Mm.
snippets of that and maybe do some videos with people, or memes, or some simple stuff like that for my page.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really capitalized on the footfall that I could have maybe earned or generated by virtue of starting IDEVA videos when things were fresh, which a
Right.
lot of people who were, or colleagues who were working with me,
Mm-hmm.
were very strategic and smart about. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I didn't know. Secondly, I think my priority was to establish myself as an actor more
Right.
than a creator. Like, that's something that I didn't know how to take forward. So I think during the pandemic is when I was like, okay, अब तो कोई बाहर तो कुछ बना नहीं रहा है, घर से बाहर तो निकल नहीं रहा है मैं, and if I don't do this also, then I will lose my mind. Like, I need to
Yeah.
do something. And then I think influencer marketing also picked up during that time. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know if the world is going to end or not, so I might as well just make some money. And if they are offering money to use my channel
I
as a
will take it.
distribution, yes, I will just put some effort. I gave a very hard time to my team because
Uh-huh.
I think tab influencer marketing was also newer. So
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot more that would sometimes come in terms of brands wanting integrations and all.
Mm-hmm.
So much so that I'd get over them. नहीं नहीं मैं इतना नहीं कर सकती brand integration and all. And now I feel so stupid. I'm like, you idiot. I wish if only you knew how tough this is gonna get. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
also in
but
the start, when you do get brand integrations, it's also like a
right,
balance, right? Because I mean, you've honed your craft as a writer and you have
right.
created your identity, and then the brand sometimes gives you a brief that is so, you're like, I cannot work with this,
Yeah,
I
I
cannot say
know.
this, please.
There have been times where I've been like, कैसे करेगा ये क्या है?
Yeah,
इससे अच्छा तो तुम मुझे ही वीडियो बना के दे दो, मैं ही डाल देते हैं
yeah,
उसमें, नेटिव मार्केटिंग करवा लो भाई, यूज इट एज अ बिलबोर्ड. Screw creation, what are you doing?
yeah,
And
yeah.
the cherry on top is when a video that I will tell my team is too native and too,
Mm,
marketing driven, is not going to work, and it doesn't work. And then the owners of the video not working also then falls on you, because the
yeah,
brand holds you accountable. कि हमारा video तो नहीं चला, what is the point of paying money? And I'm like,
yeah.
but you never listen.
I at least change 2, 3 words in the caption so we are not all copy pasting the same thing.
Yeah,
And we are like,
yeah,
fine. So you have the small wins as
yeah,
creators there to claim.
yeah.
Um, you've been constantly working on reinventing your content. You have, like, you've been doing sketch comedy, you do
Right,
impersonations, you have your characters, your Gurgaon wali bhabi and all of that.
right,
You
right.
have your rants. So as a creator, how do you maintain the balance between honoring or doing the kind of content that your original audience came for versus trying
Hmm.
new things as now?
Uh, I've come around to believing that ultimately, my audience is in it for me,
Mm-hmm.
not the characters that I give them. Obviously, there are some characters which I know are audience favorite, both
Right.
new and old.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the reinvention happens with this innate faith I have that, ultimately it is my voice that they enjoy, as
Right.
opposed to the mask I wear. So as long as I can put my voice out there and do it with conviction, with whatever mask or the lack of it,
Mm-hmm.
I know that there will be acceptance, or at least I believe there will be acceptance. And just show up as Shibani ranting about something. Those
Mm.
videos do very well, which I feel like gives me a lot of confidence that, okay, I mean, I don't have to hold on to crutches. You guys like me as I am also, and that's good
Right.
enough.
One series of yours that I really love is the collab you do with Ankush Bahuguna, where you to play
Right.
parents of a daughter
Yeah.
whose phone has been unlocked.
Right. Right.
And the thing, I mean, the jokes are hilarious in it, but the thing I
Right.
love the most is when both of y'all crack up in the midst
Right.
of filming, because it
Right.
gives us as an audience also, we are also in on that joke then.
Right.
How did that idea start? And can you take me through the process of how y'all make it?
So I think we started. this IP when we were in IDEVA. And it was just one of those, sketches that we were doing, or different kind of couples. So Kankush and me used to do these sketches where we used to play different types of couples. And one of the couples was this older couple. And I remember I just started imitating some accent that I had heard somewhere. I think that's how it just sounded funny. I could be a lot funny with the accent. I don't know. It just gave me a lot more liberty to like crack jokes. And with him, I have great chemistry. So we improv well, and we riff off each other very well. So it started as an experiment there. And then through the next few months before COVID hit, even when COVID hit, we would, if we had to do a collaboration as Mummy Daddy, we'd bring these characters on board, and the Jugalbandi would be fun. And I remember once, I think last year in May, I had gone for a podcast that Ankush was hosting, and we had like 2-3 hours to chill or whatever. So we decided content banayenge. And Upar we started doing this, like we just started shooting this video. Okay, your parents just read your something. And we weren't even looking like parents. We were wearing normal clothes, but like doing the accent. And we posted that video, and it had like some 10 million views in less than 3-4 days. And we were like, the fuck, okay, this is insane. So I feel like there are times when we feel like we've pushed it a little too much, like there is an element of repetitiveness, and we're trying to explore more things within that character universe. But like it just happened on its own. We used to do it as sketch comedy, and then eventually it just came through as this.
Right. Do you have like a script that you plan with each other ahead, or you just surprise each other with some lines while you're filming?
So I feel like we generally create a structure. We have like a few words that we'll refer to, or a few things that we will bring to, in terms of the content, to the table. But everything, the way it builds up, is all improv.
Yeah.
I think the reactions are funny because sometimes he'll say something and he'll find it so funny and he'll start laughing. Or I'll say something and he'll start laughing, and then the moment gets killed.
Thank you for that, because those videos are hilarious. In an article, you said that having an online presence doesn't guarantee a role in films. In fact, you have to work twice as hard to prove that you're more than just a YouTube star or an Instagram influencer. What are some tips you would give for creators who are looking to get into acting? Because right now, a lot of people see that as a natural progression to move on from being a creator to now getting a role in films.
Right. Don't stereotype yourself, because this industry is going to stereotype you anyway, basis your age, your size, where you come from in life, everything, how you look. You're going to get put in a box anyway. So it'll help that if you want to grow as a content creator, try not adhering and only sticking to stereotypes, or performing only stereotypes all the time, because then it'll be even easier for people who are casting you to not imagine you any differently.
So you mean like don't do only mom characters, or don't do only like kid characters,
auntie characters,
like,
or kid characters.
Right.
Kid characters, you will still help you get away, because if you're playing someone younger, then at least they can imagine you as somebody younger. And I feel like the ageism in the world is so high that sometimes if you put yourself out there as an older person or playing older people, then to break away from that box and or move over to something that is, I think it becomes a little harder for people to imagine you any differently. Like if you look at from the 90s or the 80s, all the people who played Baujis and mummies and daddies, like they've been kept stuck in that box because of the stereotype that people couldn't imagine them beyond. And it was also harder for them to make things work when they would try to break it. And I feel like content creation is not, the stakes are not, I mean, it's not as like this ecosystem can still be maneuvered a little bit, like content creation ecosystem. But I'm just saying, that as creators, I feel like it is probably a good idea to keep as much variety as possible. If you're a performer, don't let your performance be restricted by just two things.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that variety in the kind of content you do. Like when I look at, for example, Dolly's content,
Mm-hmm.
um, while she can do trending songs and fashion reels and stereotypical characters down to the T, there
Mm-hmm.
will always be videos that one will end up seeing where she's playing different people, delving into different kind of
Yeah.
performances, storylines, plot lines. So that kind of variety, which also shows your range as a performer, will be a good idea. I also want every content creator to know that, and this is not something that will be told to us often, but we all need to remember the power we yield. Um,
Right.
Given the current climate of content and how
Mm-hmm.
content in the world in general works, there is a lot more power that we hold, which we will not be told or which we will not be validated for very easy. Um,
Okay. What do you mean?
by that, I mean that don't sell yourself short. Um,
Mm-hmm.
don't think that the natural progression is only becoming an actor. The natural
Mm-hmm.
progression is also you having your own empire and making your own content. You want to act,
Right.
you can also do that on your own. The power you
Mm-hmm.
have, the amount of corpus you can earn from social media marketing, the way you can grow and diversify can open up so many avenues that you will not have to depend on people limiting you or opening avenues for you.
Right.
And there are examples of people, like there are examples of a lot of creators who are turning into actors, and a lot of them are creating their own work. And it may not be easy, but getting acting projects is also not easy. You know,
Yeah.
I feel like you have to constantly keep trying. There is no structure to this profession, there's no predictability. I'm just saying, like, the thing that and the thing that we all end up believing, that the natural progression is to become an actor.
Yeah.
It's not easy to progress there. There will
Mm-hmm.
be setbacks and there will be roadblocks all the time, no matter how much credibility you earn on the way. Um, Also, you can naturally also progress into becoming something larger within what the power that you yield. You can always
Mm-hmm.
grow that and make something bigger out of it. You know, become your
Hmm.
own producer, director.
Wow. That
Karta
would be
dharta.
interesting to see actually.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
it's an ecosystem that one can grow and take
mhm.
that power further,
Right.
bask in it.
But do you feel that having a platform gives you a bit more credibility when you go into, for example, audition rooms, whereas you are a
Yeah,
known face compared to all the
right.
others who are unknown? Do you feel like it gives you a bit more confidence in that sense?
Um, um, Confidence, not sure. See, it does give me recognition. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't have to sometimes introduce myself from scratch, let's say.
Yeah.
You know, um, there is a certain amount of respect also. I feel like as much as I want to cover, like, sound correct about it, but I feel like sometimes, when you come from a space where you have the right amount of power and numbers backing you up,
Hmm.
people treat you a little less carelessly,
Right.
because there could be consequences and there could be calling out and accountability and all of
Mm-hmm.
that. So people are not reckless,
Yeah.
thankfully. But that still doesn't guarantee or credibility, such a. That's what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
That I feel like you owe people thank you just because you've been chosen sometimes. I mean, you owe them gratitude, but there's a reason why they see merit in casting content creators also, because
Mm-hmm.
there is a lot that they can also get out of us. We also come with a lot of power and
Yeah.
public vote or whatever. So yeah, I mean, all these things need to be kept in mind, and diversify as much as possible. Don't get limited to one thing, or don't put your hopes in like just one basket.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you as well. Like, is there an added pressure as an actor? if you have a background as a content creator, because your audience already knows your personality. They know you, for
Hmm.
example, as the funny person. And then suppose
Right.
you're in a movie where you're doing a very serious or a dark role,
Hmm.
and then the audience feels like this is not you, like they're not unable to connect with the character because they still you see you Shibani the
Hmm.
person versus Shibani the actor.
Hmm.
So has that also played into your experience of wanting to diversify so that your audience also is able to sort of appreciate the roles that you do?
Uh, in sort of, I think the reason that I want to diversify is A, because I feel like I have a lot more to offer. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel like just because I don't know how to maneuver that, sometimes it is hard for my audience, and sometimes even casting people to imagine me any differently, or
Right.
even try me out, or show faith in giving me roles or auditioning me for roles where I could,
Mm-hmm.
you know, explore other spectrums of emotions for that matter. I
Yeah.
feel like whatever work I've done so far, including Thank You for Coming, I did a web show called Trial by Fire also, where I had a
Right.
cameo, but it was a one episodic role, and I was very happy to be a part of it. All of these, thankfully, roles, and they also came at a time where I thankfully am not like very famous on social media. I don't have huge numbers, which I think works for me because there
What are
is an
you
element of
saying?
no, but Satyashu, there is like an element of anonymity that I enjoy in the larger
Okay.
scheme of things, which works in
Uh-huh.
my favor because a lot of filmmakers or people in the industry don't know about me, which is great. It's like they maybe have seen one or two videos here and there, but
Okay.
apart from that, I don't get dismissed just by virtue of the fact that आप तो funny बनाते हो. Because I remember there was this
Hmm.
one project I cracked, and I gave like some 3 rounds of auditions, grueling auditions. There was a rehearsal thing, and I got locked in February, and we were supposed to begin rehearsals and shooting in May. This is again last year in
Mm-hmm.
2022. And so my size, my height, my limitations as an actor, everything they knew. 3 days before the shoot, I was thrown out because they didn't think my body was matching the vibe of the character. I don't know if that was like them subtly body shaming me, or I don't know what it was. Maybe I really didn't fit. But you needed 3 months to decide that. You couldn't see that during the audition process, all the other meeting process. And one of the writers, who was also the showrunner,
Mm-hmm.
from the moment I met her to just do a plain reading till the
Mm-hmm.
last day of rehearsal, like over those 6 months, would leave no opportunity to remind me, आप तो funny करते हो ना, आप तो funny करते हो, जैसे funny करते हो ना, अपने इसमें funny करते हो, funny करते हो. And this is when
Oh
I'm
my
living up to all the spectrums of
God.
emotions, or I'm trying.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When I remember there was a table read, she wouldn't poke or advice or feedback anyone. And out
Mm-hmm.
of this room of some 40 actors, dude, she would purposely be like, energy, energy. And I was like, this is just a read, and everybody was reading.
Yeah.
Like, there was this element of bullying just by, and I've noticed this happens all the time. I don't know, maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
just me who goes through it. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes what should be an advantage, or what is an advantage, is used against me to disarm me in spaces where I show up as an actor, because it's like, even if I want to believe that I can improve and do better and I can act,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a reason you've selected me. I have no uncle auntie recommending my name in a room full of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's anyone recommending my name in a room full of opportunities. All of this happens via auditioning processes and
Right.
all the other grueling credible processes of how people get work. And if in spite of that I have to be scrutinized the way I am, or for the lack of a better word, cornered,
Mm-hmm.
and then reminded that how I'm good at one thing, but come on, like जैसे आप करते हो ना वहाँ पे, जिस करते हो अपने उसमें फनी करते हो ना, आपको तो फनी आता होगा. Then I'd be like, okay,
Please do her
sorry.
as a character in future reels.
No, I hate her. I mean, I will never give her that benefit. But yeah, like I do, I feel like, I mean, I've become a
Mm-hmm.
lot more open about it. Like I've not been holding back imitating
Yeah.
people. I don't like. Maybe I
Do
will.
you also feel like somewhere they feel like, okay, she's famous, she's well known, she has so many fans, etc. We kind of need to bring her down to earth. Like you mentioned bullying, right? Where
Right.
someone feels the need to bring someone down because probably she might also be in your DMs as an anonymous person, like sending you hate, etc. But when
Could
you see
be.
that
Yeah.
in real life, especially in a professional setting, it can be quite
Yeah.
discouraging because you are more
It
than your
could
content.
be. Yeah, that's what. And given that people like me who are abject outsiders, we also only get inroads if there is some merit that we bring to the table, by
Yeah.
virtue of, like, for Thank You for Coming, we had 8 auditions, and nobody talks
Whoa.
about that. Like, everybody keeps, like, in throughout the media, whatever coverage that's been done, there's a lot of, like, conversation about influencers acting कर रहे हैं, influencers acting कर
Yeah.
रहे हैं, but यार उन influencers को घर में बैठ के चाय बिस्किट के साथ रोल ऑफर नहीं किया किसी ने. हमने 8 ऑडिशंस दिए, हमारा 1 महीने तक ऑडिशन चला है, उसके बाद हमने 15 दिन रिहर्सल करी थी, उसके बाद हमने शूट के दौरान भी
Oh,
पूरा पूरा महीना ब्लॉक कर करके रिहर्सल करी है. और
okay.
प्लेटर पे कुछ नहीं आया है, और प्लेटर पे किसी भी इन्फ्लुएंसर या किसी को भी प्लेटर पे कुछ नहीं मिलता है. बट हाँ, ये
Mm-hmm.
प्रेजुडिस जरूर रहती है कि भैया ये तो पॉपुलर है, इनको तो आराम से मिल जाता होगा. तो
Yeah.
वो थोड़ा सा, I don't know. I think the audience also presumes it, and then sometimes showrunners also presume कि just because she is having numbers, this role
Mm-hmm.
has been earned. And sometimes it's true, but not all
Mm-hmm.
times. And in spite of getting work by virtue of the power or the numbers you have, it is not easy to, I mean, if you perform badly, it will show.
Yeah.
So nobody will allow you to, uh, not do justice to their product. Like,
Yeah.
nobody is going to put a bad product out there. So if you're bringing the quality of their product down, you will be pushed to give and
Mm-hmm.
deliver your best. So, yeah, I mean, so that's why I feel like, yeah, you're right. I guess there is this prejudice and judgment. It
Mm-hmm.
could be a certain kind of anger, animosity, or
Mm-hmm.
insecurity. Um, but I don't know. I mean, it's unnerving, regardless.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's crazy. You had 8 auditions. That's
yeah,
that is I had no idea. Wow.
yeah, yeah. From the moment go, I feel like at least me and Dolly did. The
Hmm.
primary cast, I
Mm-hmm.
don't really know. I think in terms of like Kusha and Shanaz, maybe their audition process was a little less grueling. But I
Mm-hmm.
remember for the primary cast, the movie makers and the showrunners were very particular about what they wanted. And there was, from the moment go, from the time I got a call from the casting director to
Mm-hmm.
the final read one day before they locked us, it was some 8 rounds of auditions and table reads and chemistry reads and screen tests, and then obviously look test later when we
Right.
met in Bombay. So yeah,
All of
long
these
process.
things, like we as audience have no idea. We just see, oh, you're in a movie. Oh, and then
Yeah.
we just see the, the final output and the rest of
Right.
it. So that's a very nice insight.
Right.
I also wanted to ask you, like, as an audience, we followed your journey through, all the promotions of the film, and you're looking amazing. And I liked all your
Thank you.
transition reels that you were doing when you're getting ready for the
Yeah.
events.
Finally, I'm there. All these years I've manifested this.
Good use of making time to make reels also in between getting ready. That's
Yeah.
a true
Yeah.
content creator brain there. Do
Yeah.
you guys do you guys get together and plan your outfits together before attending an event so you don't end up like twinning and stuff?
No, no. So I feel like for Thank You for Coming promotions, the outfits were provided by Ria.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you have a Ria Kapoor mastermind of styling, one of the best we have in this country,
Yeah.
making a movie, producing a film, she will know. I mean, I think that was the best thing. I felt so relieved
Right.
when I found out that she's taking care of, like she's getting her own team of people to like style us, because I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, that is such a huge load off my chest. The
Uh-huh.
pressure of so much clothing, like so much variety in clothing.
Yeah.
I'm a basic bitch through and through. Like I live with a person who happens to be a stylist as well.
Uh-huh.
And I think the first time she saw my closet, she, I think, fainted. She was like, Bus! यही है, ये क्या है? Yeah, if it were on me, I would have probably called in sick and not shown up for the promotions. So
It
thankfully
showed up
they
on Zoom like,
organized.
hi guys.
Not feeling very well today. Yeah, but
Yeah,
they took
and
care of everything.
also as a creator, like whatever you're wearing, your audience is going to see it. People are going to comment about it, especially when you
Yeah,
post it on your feed, right?
yeah,
So there's that added pressure also. Like, I hope, I don't get panned for
yeah,
this look. Like, you might feel
yeah,
like it's looking nice, but the
yeah,
audience certainly has an opinion on it. It's really
yeah,
hard. And the second thing is also, there's this whole aspect of defining your style identity through your clothes, or defining
yeah,
your brand identity through your clothes.
yeah.
Have you been able to do that? Is that something you're looking to doing?
I haven't been able to do that. I mean, I feel like given that I had no brand identity in terms of clothes and fashion, I feel
Hmm.
like with the kind of styling that was done through the course of the shoot and even the promotions, um, it's only been helpful. Like I feel like, yeah, I mean, these were the best designers who we wore, some of the best brands, the
Hmm.
people who styled us, including Ria herself. These are the most credible styling teams you can find I mean, they are extremely credible in the in the market, for the lack of a better word.
Right.
So I feel like that created enough room for me to feel like, okay, I was in safe hands, and wherever this is going,
Hmm.
I can completely rely on these people, because this is only going to establish um, the best kind of image,
Right.
even if the clothes may or may not. Like there were times when I wouldn't be very comfortable with certain clothes, because I have
Hmm.
my own insecurities and just limitations when it comes to my body or whatever. But it would still turn out to be okay, whatever. I mean, it was worth taking the risk, and it's all sort of paid off.
I wanted to also talk about personal relationships as a content creator, because
Right,
I faced this where I've met someone for the first time, and
right,
either they may know me already through my work, and then I feel a bit uncomfortable because I feel like
hmm,
they already know me so much more than
right,
I know them, or
hmm,
they will ask for my handle and then like search for my profile in front of me and watch my reels in front of me and then be like, oh,
right,
you're this
right,
kind of, like, they kind of made that judgment call,
right.
right? Which was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
uncomfortable. And
right.
how do you deal with that? Like, how do you navigate this world of personal relationships when you feel like people kind of already know you?
Right. Mm, I feel like if people meet me and only talk about my work and what they perceive me as basis
Hmm.
the kind of stuff I do, that can be a bit of a put off. I feel like I, for the longest time, would not entertain people who would tell me that, like, especially when it came to dating, for example, or on dating
Yeah.
apps, like, I would get very put off by people who'd be like, "Oh, we know you," and because sometimes they would presume that I'm
Yeah.
the person that I show myself to be, which is
Hmm.
not the entirety of me. These are characters I play,
Yeah.
these are things I do for the gram sometimes, but there is a lot more I bring to the table. Like, for example, I come across as a very, like, bold, talkative person, but in reality, I'm very silent. And like when I'm drunk, I get even more silent. I'll just be like,
Really?
yeah, I'm like, I can easily pass off as a very, very stupid person in life. And maybe I am, who knows? But I feel like when the camera comes on, or when I have something to say, I go all guns blazing. But that's a
Yeah.
very different person that you see than who I am in reality. Like, I am a very antisocial, loving my isolation, and I like being
Hmm.
aloof kind of person, which is not something that you may sense if you were to just suss me out based on what I put out on social media. Um,
Right.
so I feel like if somebody approaches me with a lot of, like, conviction that they know me, basis
Hmm.
what they've uh, seen me project, that sort of puts me off a little bit at this point. I also
Hmm.
see whether people who approach me as friends or as potential dating partners or just
Hmm.
generally are leaving room to make room for who or other aspects of me in their life, or are curious about knowing me more.
Mm-hmm.
and don't just talk about work.
Yeah.
That gives me that is a green flag for me.
Let's go to audience questions, shall we? The
Oh,
first question is from Laila. She asks, "What is your
hmm.
favorite color?"
My favorite color, um, I think maybe pink, white,
Mm-hmm.
pastel
I see you're
colors
wearing pink
basically.
right now. Nice.
Yeah, like yellow, bright colors basically. And once in
Mm-hmm.
a while, maybe black.
Once in a
Not too
while,
many
black.
colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
Oh,
black
nice.
used to be my favorite color, but I
Uh-huh.
feel like I've realized that I need to, like, I've started, brighter colors make me feel brighter, and happier.
Oh, okay.
So anything bright, but like the soothing kind of bright, not like jhatka bright.
Not laddu pila.
Yeah, not laddu. Or that's true.
Okay, the second question is from Abhinav. He asks, "What
Right.
was the most difficult stage of your career?"
Um, Difficult stage of my career, I feel like the first 4 5 years of working in the media, and during that time, I also moved out of my parents' house. So,
Mm-hmm.
no money, no satisfaction, no direction. Most of the time, no respect, also. You're too
I
young
feel
to earn any
feel all of
respect.
this.
Yeah. So, I feel like, yeah, so those were terrible days. And I feel like my dating life was also going really bad. I mean, my dating life, as I
Mm.
said, na kismat mein kuch khote hai. Literally, I need to go to a pandit ji to get this fixed.
Ach-
Just between you and me. I had no peace anywhere. I mean, I had no AC in the winter, no heater in the sorry,
what?
whatever. Like I no AC in the
Okay.
summer, no heater in the winter. Like the appliances would keep conking off, and
Yeah.
it was just crazy. Like there was this 1 year period where I was like, I think I should just I don't know why am I alive? Like what is happening? What is going on? How
Mm.
can I do everything right and still go so wrong in life? Like what's happening? So yeah, that perhaps time.
That's what we working in the media industry will do to you. Final question is from Masha from Mangalore. She says, "Hi, I love you." And also,
Oh,
what
thank you,
places
Masha.
do, what places do you shop at in what's your favorite place to shop at in Delhi? Do you have any hidden gems you'd like to share?
Mm, Hidden gems, though, I think I've discovered hidden gems in Bombay more. Like there
Mm-hmm.
is, okay, my flatmate might not like it if I say it, but yeah, there's this one jewelry shop, okay, somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
Hill Road. It
Mm-hmm.
literally is smaller than a PCO booth, and he sells some seriously signature, unique pieces of jewelry. Um, which cost a bomb. And the first time I went there, I was like, "Ye kaise 500 rupees ka kaise de rahe ho aap?" Because I was like, "This is so worse than a shop in Janpat. Like, how is he overcoating?" And then I
Yeah.
got to know that a lot of stylists and a lot of people go there specifically because the quality of his product is great, and it's
Mm-hmm.
expensive because it's at par with a lot of products you'll get like in bigger showrooms or whatever. So yeah, I
Oh,
feel
okay.
like, and in terms of clothes also, I feel like Bombay has options like these, which I'm going to discover more through my friends who happen to be stylists or who shop here or thrift
Mm.
often.
Yeah.
In Delhi, I would very aggressively shop at Janpat and Sarojini Nagar.
Oof.
And
Yeah, yeah.
Sarojini has these, these bulk markets where they'll have
Yeah.
like these clothes, like especially during the winter, such. I've bought some of the best jackets, some of
Uh-huh.
the best like branded coats and jackets for 100 rupees. And
Yeah.
I couldn't believe my luck.
I mean, if you go to like a Zara or an H&M and look at
That's
winter
what,
clothes, you're like 6,000, 7,000 bucks, and you're like,
yeah,
cannot afford on this salary. And
yeah,
then you go
yeah.
to Sarojini and you get everything for like 1,000 bucks.
Exactly.
So
My
many
whole
items.
wardrobe in $1,000. So,
Yeah. I'm so
same
glad we
here,
had this
Sasha.
opportunity to do this. Do you have
Same
any
here. My pleasure.
upcoming projects coming up you'd like to share with the audience?
Yeah, nothing I'm sure of right now. Things
Mm-hmm.
are in conversation, mid conversation. So till I feel like I'm on set, I will not. I mean, it's not on till it's on. So
Right.
yeah, I mean, if something happens,
But
we
is that
shall
very
see.
common for projects to fall out right in the last minute, even if you have contracts drawn up and things like that?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, it's happened to so many of us, and it's happened to me some 2 3 times. Um, so, as I said, like, so even if a project is made, there is no guarantee that it's going to release as per the timeline that they've told you it might release. It may
Right.
take. I did a film which took 3 years to see the light of the day. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it's again very unstructured, very unpredictable. No
Yeah.
recourse. I mean, if somebody throws you after signing contract and everything, you can't do anything about it. You have no
Oh
power there.
gosh.
So yeah,
Oh, so I mean, now I absolutely get what you meant by saying creators have to build on their own power and their own distribution,
yeah,
because then you
yeah,
kind of have a little more independence and freedom, right, in what you do.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
wow, nice
yeah.
insight. Thank you so much, Shibani, for talking to me. All of you who are listening, I'm going to put all of her socials linked below. Please check out her page, and make
Thank
sure
you.
you follow, subscribe, all that. Thank you, Shibani. Have a nice week
Thank you
ahead.
so much, Sacha. Thank you. You too. Thank you for having
Bye
me.
bye. New episodes of Chuma Conversations with your favorite content creators will be out every Wednesday, so make sure you click on that follow or subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode when it comes out. Have a great week ahead. Bye.